Hi, my name is Colette Rabba and I'm with Orion Realty. I'm a residential real estate broker in the GTA West, an income property specialist, and an investor myself. The reason why Araceli and I like to do this show is because we're both investors and we love to give great information to viewers and listeners just like you.
Welcome everyone. This is Araceli, wealth advisor, real estate investor in the US and Canada, and creator of Wealthy Women in Real Estate. And today is my weekly call with Colette. So Colette, how are you doing? Can you
Good. How's everybody? How are you?
Good.
Exciting stuff happening for both of us, and really looking forward to seeing how that all works out. But as you know me, audience, my name is Colette Rabba. I am a residential real estate broker in the GTA. And why Araceli and I love to have these Zoom calls is because we love real estate and talking about income properties especially helping you answer all your questions. So please continue on giving us all your questions. We love to answer them. And what's today's subject?
Today we're going to talk about the 3 things that first home buyers need to know. Very important. It's very different from when you are an investor. But if you are buying your first home, this is an investment for you, even though it's not producing money every month, but it is something that you're going to live in. So it's an investment in yourself, your lifestyle, and everything. So very important. Go ahead, Colette. Tell us.
Okay, and you know what? I have to disagree with you a little bit there.
Please do.
Because people who are buying investment properties, these are 3 things that they have to keep in mind as well. Very, very basic stuff. You know what I'm going to say. The first thing is location, location, location.
Of course. But the reason that I said that is the difference is that when you're looking for a location for yourself, it would be a totally different location than it is when you're investing.
I agree with you.
That is what I meant by that. So
yes.
I know locations is always the number one thing that you need to know. Remember, you can change anything in the house. The only thing that you cannot change is where it is.
Well, unless you pick it up but we're not going there.
You probably don't want to do that.
No, you don't want to do that. So yeah, that's the one thing, and why it's important for investors to have a location too is, yes, for different reasons, but absolutely you have to know that goes under the category of you have to know who's going to be renting the house from you, if it's easier to sell than a different location. So all these things, location is important no matter no matter if you're buying for yourself or if you're buying for an investment. The second thing is also for investors. Don't overspend. We are hearing everything in the news about people having multiple offers, 20, 30 offers on the same property, and the price just going exponentially higher than what was listed. So please don't overspend. Know what you're qualified for as far as a mortgage. Don't forget your closing costs, and don't go above your budget, because honestly, it's the physical and mental anguish you're going to put yourself through if you overspend. You'll have years to pay that off, yes, but do you want to be house poor?
Oh gosh, no. You know, this is one of the things that we're seeing right now, at least here in Canada, right? Like in the US also, properties have gone really, really high.
Yeah.
But you also have to remember, it's always about financials. Everything touches money. So the more you spend, the harder it is going to be to sustain that lifestyle every month, right? So I know that it's hard. It's heartbreaking for some people, because sometimes you can only go to a certain level, certain amount of money that you need to spend. But this is, if you're starting, the most important thing is that you get in the market, that you actually buy something so you can start creating that equity in your home. So.
Yeah, and that's the reason why Araceli and I like to talk with each other too, because we know there are different ways to build your own personal wealth by buying real estate. But if it's not your first time home, you can always buy an income property first or start a different way that is not as painful as overspending on a crazy amount that's not going to bring you any return. So absolutely don't overspend. And the third thing, which, you know, it's not even, you know, which one is more important than the other. Know and stick with your needs versus your wants. You don't need a hot tub. You need a bathroom and a kitchen. Right. It's good to have. So that's the difference between a need and a want. So stick with your needs. If it's nice to have, that's a secondary bonus, and think of it that way, because really, if you're only going to look at houses that have whatever, 6 bathrooms, you're going to be limited in that. And do you really need the 6 bathrooms, or can you do with maybe 3?
Yeah,
so depending on what you want, what you want and what you need is very, very different. So please have that in stone and know what you're looking for, because it makes the whole process much smoother and much easier if you know what you need versus what you want. Exactly. And that's it.
Well, that is so important to begin, and this for anybody, especially when you are first home buying. Make sure that you do have a budget for what are your fixed expenses, and then you do a new budget, like a mock-up budget that you have. Okay, so how much am I going to be spending in my new mortgage instead of my rent, plus the property taxes, insurance, all of that. You have to factor it in. If you don't know, please call me. I can give you some idea of numbers.
You have a spreadsheet,
right? A spreadsheet. Yeah, I have that all ready to go for people. I help a lot of my clients to put that together, so they know what is actually going to cost you a month to run the property. Because being house poor is not fun. Like, it's just not fun at all.
And don't forget closing costs. So you have to budget that as well.
So it's usually what, 2 to 3%, Colette? For
you shouldn't have. It shouldn't be more than that. There's not to scare anybody, but there are hidden costs too. So let's say your realtor didn't realize that the furnace or the water heater is a rental, so that has to go under your monthly budget. Things like that, sometimes you don't even know until you take possession and say, hey, how do I hook this up? And it's like, oh, well, that's extra. So all these things you have to ask before. So maybe number 4 should be hire a good realtor. But
that is what I was saying. That's actually the first thing that you should do. Because you know what? The things change so rapidly that the easiest way especially if you're in the Toronto GTA area, it's just so hard to get how to make an offer, how to find properties, all of that kind of stuff. It's best that you just deal with a realtor. So.
Things move really, really quickly, especially in this market. So if anybody doesn't understand that, these multiple offers, it's commonplace now for a couple of years. So through COVID, nobody was expecting it. And because the mortgage rates are still very, very low, it's a great time to buy. But you have to know what you're buying, and that ultimately is security and safety and answering all the questions.
Yeah,
that's my job.
All right, so the summary. So if you're a first home buyer, the 3 things that you need to think about the most is location, location, location. That's number 1. So number 2 is to have a budget and do not go over it, because it's just gonna, at the end of the day, it's gonna affect you. And number 3 is you have to weigh your needs versus your wants, and just make sure that your needs are covered. And if you get an extra, that would be fantastic. Absolutely,
yeah. And you know what? Have that written down so you know exactly what because there's nothing worse than clients that flip flop and say, oh well, instead of 3 bedrooms, I like 5 bedrooms now, and then it's a whole different ball game. So
of course.
Yeah, and you might price yourself out if you have too many needs. You might be pricing yourself out of what you can actually afford. So all the 3 things work together. So you really have to know what your location is, if there are things in that location within your budget, and what you actually need. So if you have 20 kids and you need a big house, it might not be in the budget. You might have to change your needs,
for
slightly.
But remember, think about all of these things and then call Colette. And then sit down with her. She'll walk out with each one of those information and make you have a better vision of what you really need. Okay? So with that, we'll leave you, and then we'll see you on the next episode. So remember to like us.
Thanks for joining, and subscribe. Thanks for joining us today. If you'd like more information, or if you have any questions, please go to my website at ColetteRabba.com.